It's mid to late spring here in Oklahoma, and each year we get a little bit of winter kill on our warm season turf grasses. Our most widely used turf grass is common Bermuda grass, as well as the hybrid Bermuda grasses, and then also we have a fair amount of zoysia grass and Bermuda moved around the entire state. If you're in the southeastern part of the state, you might be using some St. Augustine grass, which has some special challenges with respect to winter kill. But over most of the state, we're using Bermuda grass and zoysia. Well, with both Bermuda and zoysia, they have above ground stems, aerial tillers, they have runners called stolons, but they also have below ground rhizomes. That is, if they're healthy, and of course a root system. Well, when you see winter kill symptoms, you usually notice it because you surmise that there's been plenty of warm days for the grass to start growing. That's the case here, as we'll show you. Healthy Bermuda grasses and those known to be plenty winter hardy should certainly be leafed out and be relatively full in their growth by the time you reach the end of the first week of May of most years, even if we've had chilly or overcast conditions. The same is true with zoysia grasses. Now, winter kill, you usually see it because the grass fails to green up. And just because it has failed to green up, not necessarily all is lost, because with Bermuda and zoysia, they have the underground stems called rhizomes, so it becomes necessary to sample and see if you've got live, healthy, white rhizomes. So the appearance above of a winter-killed area of Bermuda grass would be like we see right here. Maybe only a few stems coming out and greening up. And you may say, well, do I need to resod or reseed this area? What do I need to do? Well, before seeding or sodding, we need to scout underneath, and we've got to hunt for rhizomes. And the way to do that is to take your favorite sampling shovel or spade, or in my case, I use a cup cutter because I'm here at our Turfgrass Center, and you'd sample out an area, pull a plug out. You don't have to have one of these fancy tools, and what you're going to look for is live, healthy white rhizomes. What they are, of course, is a stem underneath. And you'll see this in some of the video here. We're going to look for live, healthy white rhizomes. If all we're seeing is these dark-colored, mushy, black, discolored underground stems, we're in trouble. But we want to see a certain percentage of them. We sure hope that at least 10% of those stems underground would be live, white, and healthy. And then what happens, those will break dormancy. The live healthy ones have a bud at the internodes, and then you'll see the aerial shoot system come from that. However, if all the rhizomes have been killed, like if we froze deep into the soil and you had a sensitive Bermuda grass, there's no hope for these areas here. So they'd need to be either reseeded, resprigged, plugged, or sodded. And then sometimes it's difficult to find the exact cultivar that you originally had in there. Key factors in dealing with the winter kill issue in Bermuda grass are to pick good performing, documented good performing Bermuda grass cultivars. So if we're looking at seeded types, reliable types include Yukon, Rio, and Monaco. You'd want to probably try to avoid Sahara or Arizona Common if you're trying to escape winter hardiness issues. Good vegetative types that have had good winter hardiness over the decades include things like Astro and U3. Newer types that have better winter hardiness include Tahoma 31, Latitude 36, Northbridge, and similar new varieties that are coming out of the Oklahoma State program. In terms of management practices, things you want to avoid: excess traffic, letting the grass go too dry during late fall or winter, and then also excess fertilization in October and November, because that can predispose to winter kill. If you'll manage properly and pick good cultivars, you can reduce risk of winter kill issues. Well, if you live in the southeastern part of Oklahoma, St. Augustine may be the grass that you're using in full sun or even in shade, because it does have excellent shade tolerance. But St. Augustine has special winter kill concern because it's not known for being real winter hardy. Raleigh, as in the city in North Carolina, Raleigh is a cultivar from the 1980s, and it still stands as one of the more winter hardy types within the St. Augustine grass species. We've got enough cover here with this Raleigh St. Augustine to grow it back in with a normal management program. However, if your lawn looks more like this, you're going to have to replug or resod. And also with St. Augustine grass, there is no seed in the trade. If you're dealing with winter kill on Bermuda grass or zoysia grass, you can go with either plugs or sprigs or solid sod or even seed if you haven't used a pre-emergent herbicide. So if you're dealing with St. Augustine grass and you don't see live shoots by early May to mid-May, you've had probably severe winter kill. And there's no hope coming from below, because with St. Augustine grass, unlike Bermuda and zoysia, you do not have below ground stems called rhizomes. So winter kill is not at all uncommon each year in Oklahoma, but the key factors for growing back in are know your turf species and variety, always choose more winter hardy types. If you're planning to reseed to establish, know whether you've used a pre-emergent herbicide or not. And then also, good mowing, fertilization, and irrigation are very important, and it's important to start early so you can grow the stand in as quickly as possible.
We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.